All right, well, thanks everybody for coming. This is going to be a little different Wednesday night Zoom-a-thon. And unlike having the track day or the motorcycle technique type things that we do, I figured I would share some of my experience this past summer when Carolyn and I did a 5-month trip. That's right, 5 months. We took our camper and our truck with a motorcycle and we hit the road. The timing of, she's retired. Basically my job is a seasonal, and I cut it a little short last year. And so we made it happen. And it was just a window in our lives that made it so that it was the time to do it. So what I did though, was we took the motorcycle with us and I wasn't sure how much we were going to ride it, because sort of looking at the itinerary and I hadn't really done a whole lot of research about some of the places that we were riding. We're going to be driving and visiting, whether there were actual motorcycle type places. It turns out we had awesome opportunities. I think we put like 2,500 miles on the motorcycle, just doing day trips. So that's pretty good. I thought that was pretty darn good. I have photos and I'm not going to bore you, hopefully, about, this is what we did here and this is what we did there. This is going to be motorcycle related. So it'll be the roads that I rode with the MT-07. Carolyn was with me as a passenger most of the time, but some of them I did as solo rides. So I'll talk about that. And also, just if you have any questions at any point about specifics, like you're planning on going to one of these places sometime this year, I'd be happy to answer them. Hopefully we'll have time at the end. If not, then you can always, message me. All right, so let's get going. I'm gonna share my screen. Visuals, that's what we're aiming for here. So this is just a general look at what our trip was. So we did a loop and we had to make some changes because there were fires in California, so we had to do some ad-libbing, but that worked out just fine. So that was the general trip route we took. So this also, you can see, I'm going to talk about these locations first, and then we'll move to the South, California and the South like that. I'm trying to, yeah, okay. So this is a list of the roads. These are the bucket list roads. And like I say, when I looked at the list, I'm like, wow, I rode a lot. And there were places that I was surprised when I saw the list of just how many places opportunities I had to ride. And some of them were like, oh, Beartooth Highway is right here. And I didn't know that. And so that was just a lot of pleasant surprises. So here's the list. And at the end of the video, or if you're watching this on YouTube for later, come back to this spot here, check out the timestamp, and you can sort of look and see the different roads. If I'll be talking about them, but this is a way for you to reference back to them. Right, so this is what the setup was. So we've got this little camper and it's a 18 feet box, and the F-150 was able to hold the MT-07 at an angle. And I had 2 ramps with me, so that I'd use that technique where bike goes up one ramp and I walk up the other. Putting the bike in the truck is a piece of cake. Getting it off, Carolyn and I got pretty good at it as far as keeping the bike center of the ramp. But once we got it down, it was really no big deal. So let's start with the Black Hills. This was the first place that we really did some riding. And I got to say, this was really great. I really enjoyed this quite a lot. And Rushmore is somewhere up in here. And so we camped down in Custer. And this part of the road right here was great. And this was actually just part of the main road. But if you go off the road in here, you've got Iron Mountain. I think that's what this one is, Iron Mountain, which was terrific. You can see how twisty it is. But also, this is Needles Highway. So this is just a screenshot from the video. Speaking of videos, YouTube, I've got a lot of these roads on as YouTube videos. Many of them are also the footage is used for technique videos. So, managing downhill hairpins, that sort of thing. But this was actually the Iron Mountain Road. And there was one point where we could see Mount Rushmore through a tunnel. So they lined up the tunnel right at Mount Rushmore. I don't know, that was such a great surprise. Came around the corner, it's like, oh, another tunnel. Look at that. There you can see it's perfectly framed as Mount Rushmore. Now, Mount Rushmore, if you were to ask me that was going to be as enjoyable as it was, I would have been surprised, but I really enjoyed it. You know, the whole thing. It was a beautiful day. We had a great ride up there, and just the scene. It's a scene. I mean, I really did enjoy it quite a lot. This is the Needles Highway. So this is really cool. It's not a lot of these roads aren't, roads to go fast on or anything. They're just 15 miles an hour. And on a Saturday, these roads are crowded. So it's kind of a parade, and just expect that. Some of these other roads that I'll be talking about are great, like let them rip roads. But this is not one of those. It's just gorgeous, beautiful. So now we went after the Black Hills. We did other things, but the next thing that we did on a motorcycle was we were in Yellowstone. And from Yellowstone, we camped at the far western side part of Yellowstone, but Beartooth Notch, the Beartooth Highway, which is what this is on the far eastern side of Yellowstone, and Yellowstone's huge. So what we ended up doing is, I want to show you this, is we put the bike in the back of the truck and we hauled it across Yellowstone, and we parked the truck, and then we unloaded and we left from here. And that made a whole lot of sense, because it would have been a long day just to get here. And, and in the morning we left early, and Yellowstone isn't exactly warm, in, every part of the year we were there. It was nice, but you can see we were, it wasn't, first thing in the morning was a bit chilly. Yeah, so this was in July though. This is middle of July. So let me go back. So this is Beartooth Notch, Beartooth Highway. This is the very top. This has to be probably, Carol and I were wondering what was our favorites. This was one of our favorites, because you're in another world. It's at the top of the world. You're looking down. This doesn't know justice at all. But it's just a gorgeous road, and you're up high. And this again was July, and it got chilly. It got really chilly. I know that they were skiing only like a couple weeks before we were there. So Beartooth Notch, or I keep calling it Beartooth Notch, it's Beartooth Highway, is a must do. And it's a fairly long ride. I mean, you expect to take, the day, and not halfway up, about a third of the way up, there's this place, and I forget what it's called. Somebody else will know what it is, but it's like a wayside, and a lot of riders park there, and it's like a little store, and and we stopped there, and at one point we're like, is this it? Well, no, let's keep going. And a whole bunch of bikers were there, and they showed up, and they had actually had a run going from Red Lodge, which was at the far end of the Beartooth Highway. And so we're like, no, let's keep going. Well, I'm so glad we did. That was nothing. I mean, everything was ahead of us. So we went all the way to Red Lodge, and we had lunch there. It was a Mexican restaurant. And again, there were a lot of bikes down there. There was definitely a motorcycle thing happening. And then we came back, and it was just amazing. I mean, terrific. The road was lots of hairpins, all the stuff I like, very technical. And the scenery was just killer. Next to that is the Chief Joseph Highway, which we also did, which I will talk about in a second. This was our Yellowstone. I just want to show you this. This was our camping setup. This was in Yellowstone. This is Carolyn and me, and this is in Yellowstone on our way back from the Beartooth. So the teaching, let me back up then. Somebody's gonna have to mute there.
I got him.
Got him, great, thanks. So I'm gonna back up here because I don't have any photos, which I'm surprised at. I have photos, but I didn't have any in here, of the Chief Joseph Highway. Chief Joseph Highway is, I have a map here, don't I? I guess I don't. Chief Joseph Highway intersects with the Beartooth Highway. Now, we were thinking about doing both in one day, but we didn't. We came back a second day and did the same thing with the bike in the back of the truck, because we just got a little bit of a late start. And that's one of the things, is staying at the far other end of Yellowstone. And there's so much nice stuff to see. We stopped a little bit, but not much, but by the time we got Red Lodge with the Beartooth, we weren't going to be able to also then do Chief Joseph justice. So we came back and we did that. And Chief Joseph goes east, and then it'll intersect with the road that goes down to Cody, Wyoming. And you can do that, or you can do a loop that then goes Chief Joseph north, and then do to Red Lodge, and then do go south on the Beartooth. That's one way you can do that. But the Chief Joseph was really nice, but it really, Beartooth was really killer. So the Tetons, there's the Tetons. I won't zip through here too fast, but you can see the setup again. From the Tetons, we actually got on the bike and we went out to Du Bois, and that was out farther east. And it was a nice ride out. It wasn't anything spectacular, but we just wanted to get on the bike, and it was great. It really was enjoyable. But what we heard about a World War II vehicle, or was it a national World War II military vehicle museum out in the middle of the desert. And we're like, what? And so we went there and we kind of poked in, and it's like, oh my God, this is like the real deal. So we did, we went in and we had the most amazing time. That museum is really something worth seeing. It's in Du Bois, D-U-B-O-I-S. Again, I thought I had a photo of it. So this is the Sawtooth Mountains. Now this is in Idaho. It's Stanley, Idaho. Yeah. And what's here is Route 21. I'll get my notes. And this was just a really cool road that left right from Stanley and went all the way down to, all right, so this was actually, sorry about this, Loman. So this is Idaho. There's Stanley right here. And then we did this road here, Route 21. And we went down to Loman. We didn't go as, well, no, I'm sorry. We kept going. We went down to Idaho City, which is this little tiny one-horse town. And we had lunch there and we came back. So this was quite a ride. And this was something that, again, we just kind of stumbled upon this one. But that's what this is here. And the views were spectacular. You know how photos are. They don't do any justice at all. We had a really nice time on that ride too. Beautiful. The Sawtooth Mountains are great. This is where we ate. So this is in Idaho City. It's this little place. It was great. It was like a little saloon inside. That's riding on the way back. Just gorgeous. Okay, so that's what I got there. Okay, the next thing we did was we did Lolo Pass. So now we're up in Missoula. So Stanley is down farther south. And this is Three Rivers, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, so we ended up staying in Missoula, and we did this ride here, excuse me, the Lolo Pass, which is Route 112. I'm at Route 12. And we went down to Three Rivers, this little resort. But again, it's out in the middle of nowhere. This is very remote. This is where Lewis and Clark, we kept running across Lewis and Clark stuff, like history, like crazy. But this is where Lewis and Clark went, and they crisscrossed here. And it was insane. I mean, it is such a just rough, rugged area. And as it is, there were fires going on here, but nothing that stopped us from going through. But we went down here. If we kept going, we would have been in Oregon. But this was great. We enjoyed this very much. It was hot that day. And up here is another, if you're into history and Lewis and Clark history, is Traveler's Rest. And it's a place you can stop, and they've got, it's part of the Lewis and Clark history. It's cool. So this is the beginning of the Lolo Pass. And this is that famous sign that everybody takes a photo of. And I don't think we did 99 miles, but I think we did about 75. And it was great. It was really enjoyable. So this is that Three Rivers Resort at the very end. And it was, again, there were cabins there, and there was like a little gas station, which is good. And so it made it so we could go that far and then turn around. I mean, the MT-07 gets 65, 70 miles to the gallon, pretty good, but it's got a small tank. So on the way back, we stopped here, and this was a cedar grove. And these are massive cedars. You can't, the scale isn't shown here in the photo, but this was just on the side of the road. And we just noticed it and turned around. Doing U-turns, awesome. Learn how to do U-turns, and you will pass things and not feel like you can't turn around and check them out. And it was great. And we walked through this grove, and it was just terrific. I mean, these were almost as big as the redwoods. and there was cedar. Okay, now we get to Glacier, National Park. This is probably was on both our lists, or number 2, I think, number 1 and number 2 of our favorite lists for the favorite rides. Let me find my notes again here. So when we were here, let me try to find it. Yeah, we were in August. So this is the end of August, middle of August. This is Lake McDonald. So this is when you come into Glacier National Park. There's this lake, and there's a lodge and everything on this lake. But this up here is where you ride the going to the Sun Road, and it climbs up and it winds up into here, and it's just spectacular. I mean, this blew our minds. I mean, the scenery was terrific. The roads, again, they're tourist roads. You don't go fast on them. They get very, very narrow. And I've heard people actually get a little squeamish riding on these roads because they're so narrow, but they're not that narrow. I mean, they're two-way traffic, so how narrow can it be? But still, it gets your attention a little bit. So here's where we are right here. That's where that photo was actually right here. And we stayed down here in Hungry Horse, an RV park. And this is the going to the Sun Road. It goes up into here. And you can go all the way through. This is the only road that goes through Glacier. And I got to just tell you, this up here will blow your mind, And as you come down here, this is just unbelievable. It's beautiful. And we went all the way out to here. And there's another glacier area that's called, I can't think of it now. Anyhow, and there's another road that comes in this way. And then there's more glaciers to see. We went there and we hiked Many Glacier, it's called. But I wouldn't want to take the bike out there so much because it's a dirt road, although I hear it's getting paved. And when it was there, it was just mucky clay that took like 5 times to a car wash to get it off my truck. So that would have been nasty, but beautiful. And we turned around, we came back and we went up here, and the views going each direction are different. And at the very top is Logan Pass. And that's what this is. So Logan Pass it's very high. And they had motorcycle only parking, which a lot of it, because it was at the end of every row of cars. And the beauty of that is that you can't get a parking spot here certainly not on a weekend, unless you're really lucky. So the reason we took the bike up here most times was because we knew we could park, and it ended up being just a great ride either way, So we took it up twice. We went up to going to the Sun Road on the bike. This was on the way from Many Glacier going back. So this lake is this lake right here, and looking up into this way. And now this is over at the far end, St. Mary's. So this is at the far eastern side of Glacier National Park. So the road goes off into this way. So this is again back up at the going to the Sun Road, looking down into the valley. And so that lake, that first lake we saw, McDonald, is down in here. It's actually probably back in here. So the road just winds down into this valley. And the photo doesn't do it any justice. You're looking straight down. It is just spectacular. We were there, one of the days we went there, this is Logan Pass. Now you can see all the motorcycle parking. And it snowed, actually, it looks like rain. It was snow that got us there, and it was a wet snow, and it was cold. So again, remember, this is the middle of August. So you have to be ready. So we hiked here, and it was cold. Like we wanted to put everything else we had on to go off to a hike. But it was great. When we came back, then the weather had cleared, and even though the road was wet, we ended up not having any issues with visibility. On the way up, it was pretty sketchy, but it was fine on the way back down. So again, this is on the way back, and the road, these had these nice little pull-offs. That's what was beautiful. And some of them were really small. They really only motorcycle only pull-offs. So we found one, and we hung out there for a while because we could sneak the bike right in there and just hung out and literally looking down into the valley. It's just amazing. Okay, that's Glacier. Next thing we did was we went into Washington State, and this is near the Grand Coulee Dam. And, it was like fine, it was really beautiful. The Grand Coulee, the Lake Roosevelt because they created this lake because they dammed it. It created it from the Columbia River. And I really wasn't thinking much about riding here, but we got on the bike and we rode up to Republic. But how we did it is we went out and we crossed with a ferry. We crossed the Columbia River and we went up to Republic and came back down. And then there's another road that comes down this way. This road here was really great. I did read up and people were loving this. And Republic was kind of a cool little town, but the road coming back down was really great. And I have it listed on that list that I showed you earlier. You can go back and refer to that, whatever I did in the first couple minutes of this video. There's the ferry. Let's see, a lot of other bikes were there. This is Republic, so we stopped. Not much to speak of here, you know, it was like, okay. Let me just say that from here down, back down to Grand Coulee, there were a couple of side roads that you could take. Like in here, we took another one that when we went up, instead of taking the main road, which I think was along here, we ended up taking a side road, which was pretty cool because, you know, adventuring. And so we just took off and we did this little tiny road. Yeah, it went up to this town here, you can pronounce that. So it crossed over here. So we went up here, over here, up here, this way, and then down. And this was just great, this part right here. Okay, so now we're traveling. You can see the road down here. This is going into the Cascades. This was just gorgeous here. So you can see the twisty road. This would be a great road to ride, but this was a travel day for us. So we had the bike in the truck. And it really was a little too far away for us to go back and experience it on the motorcycle. So, excuse me. So it ended up just being a photo op. So this is where we are now, the North Cascades. The Ross Lake is the lake, that's Ross Lake. That's a glacier silt, or glacier flower, they call it, that makes this color. And this has all been, you know, dammed, and there are 3 dams on this area here. And that's why they get these lakes. There's a lot of power lines. You see these power lines here? We were that was the one thing scenery wise that kind of bummed us out, but we realized that this became a national park or national monument after the infrastructure was put in for energy. So it was basically, that was all there before they made it into a park. So it is what it is. It was fine. We enjoyed it. We did a day trip and we went up to Mount Baker. And so that's all the way up in the northwestern part of Washington State. And it was a couple hour drive up there, but the road getting up there was an 8-mile dirt road that was pretty rough. But it was the one that most people don't take. So we really only ran into other people that went up there to hike. So we felt like we were out there alone. And this photo does no justice. We were looking almost what felt like straight up at Mount Baker. And it's just this magnificent mountain, just something that, you know, makes Mount Washington kind of look humble. So it's just amazing. So then we went from there, we're now in Washington State still. Now we've stayed near Carolyn's brother in Seattle. And one day we took the ferry over to Whidbey Island, which is one of the islands that's in the peninsula, the Sound. So that was nice. We took the ferry over, and this is one of the towns that we stopped in. And there was all these nice little towns on Whidbey Island. I mean, this ride wasn't, you know, it was just nice to be on the bike to see this stuff. And we do a lot of just exploring more when we're on the bike. We stopped in, so we saw Dave Huff. Those of you who know Dave Huff, he was my mentor for many years. And so we stayed, he lives out near Seattle, actually near I forget what it was, the Peninsula. Anyhow, so we stayed with him for the day. That was a lot of fun. Excuse the phone. And the next thing we did, and I'm moving along here, Crater Lake. Crater Lake was a lot of fun. We were actually there at a point where we were the last ones out. Like we closed the park. It's like when we left the last day that it was open, and it was cold. When was that? You're probably wondering. Cascade. So it's September. Yeah. So there's it ended up being, this was September, and we were at Crater Lake. And so we rode, and what we rode here was we camped down down in this area, I guess, down here. And this road's great, really, really beautiful road if you've never done that. But this road we took, we did this that goes all the way around the lake, and we stopped. There's a lot of little stops and stuff. And we did the circumference, but we also did this here. Where is it? I think it's this road here, and it goes out to some hoodoos. And it was a dirt road. Well, actually, was it? I don't think it was a dirt. It was a very, very narrow road. And it was a lot of fun to go off there. So we felt like we were definitely on an adventure. And that's Crater Lake. That water is really that blue. It's weird. And it's like a 2,000 foot deep lake that is not fed by anything but snow melt, glacier melt, and rain. But it was just great. Beautiful, beautiful day. This is what our inside of our camper was like. So when we were hanging out, just thought I'd give you some perspective there. So let's talk about the next. Let's put it in the second part of their of the trip. And so now we were up here in Washington. Now we're going to start heading down to California, and then going this way and heading home. Redwoods. So this was, just a nice stopover. We ended up staying in the Redwoods for a couple different places. Mike, see. Okay, Mike's giving me a text here. I gotta see, make sure we're all good. Hopefully we are. Everybody still here? Yeah, okay. Sorry, Mike gave me a text, something that I wanted to make sure everything was good. Sorry. Stop sharing for a second. Okay, where were we? There we are. Okay. Got it. Okay, I'm getting all sorts of messages here, so bear with me. So yeah, Redwoods. And from here, this was on the California coast. And from here, we left one place that we were staying in Northern California. We visited a friend of ours who we went to Italy with beaches a couple years ago. And Dan has this tiger, and he showed me, we rode across the mountains behind his place. He lives in Ukiah, and it's not very far from the coast, but far enough that it took us the day to get there. And you can see it's back in here. This road here, I have it listed on that list again, what the road is, the route number. And it was just a really great twisty road. I mean, it was really one of the nicer roads that it was on. And it's a no-name road. It's something that really, unless you're local, you probably wouldn't know about. And then a little later in that visit on the coast, I met with Will Guyan. He used to be the editor for BMW Owners News, and I met him at when I did a press launch once. And so we met up, and he's one fast rider. We rode up Route 101. Pretty good clip. It was fun. It was a lot of fun. So we had a blast. And this is on the highway. I mean, on the Route 101, Route 1 at this point, I believe. And it was just great, just beautiful. Pulled over here, took a photo, kept going. Now we're still in California. We're going farther south now. We're now staying outside of San Jose. So we're south of San Francisco. And we took a ride to Alice's restaurant, and the famous Alice's restaurant. And the ride there was great. It was really nice. There were a few different ways you can get there. And we took one way. There was another way that I would have done also if I had the time. But we took this one, and it was fun. We had lunch here. There weren't a ton of bikes, but there were more than this. There were, I don't know, maybe 15 or 20. And it was fun just to be there. Icon, gotta go to Alice's restaurant. On the way back, we went on this road that was suggested to us by these guys here who are on these bikes, and it's called Stage Road. And I have a video of that on YouTube where I talk about managing camber, and that's that road, Stage Road, and it goes along the parallels the coast. So from Alice's restaurant, we started heading back toward the coast, and then went along the Stage Road, and then ended up back on the actual coast. And here we are here. All right, looks like here we are in Yosemite. We didn't ride in Yosemite. It was too freaking cold. It was cold. So we ended up just driving around for that, hiking a lot. I love Yosemite, one of my favorite places in the world. Now, from Yosemite, we went to outside of LA, and Carolyn's sister lives there. And so she ended up visiting her while I went off, and I rode the Angeles Crest Highway and the other highways that are around there. The Angeles Canyon, it's just amazing roads back out there. And the scenery was like this. I mean, again, you can't really, it doesn't do it justice, but it's this dry, arid desert canyon stuff, and it's really cool. But riding the road was special because, you know, we've always heard of the Angeles Crest. If ever you were watching or reading any magazines, you know, particularly back in the day when they would, you know, have the photo shoots on this highway, on this road. And here it is right here. I'll show you. We stayed up here in Acton, and this was the Angeles Forest Highway is here. And this is one that not a lot of people don't ride. So this is really great. And this is the Angeles Crest right here. The Angeles Crest, so that's the famous one. We rode out to maybe about, I forget, maybe out to about here and turned around. I did with my niece and her boyfriend, actually. Relatively new riders, but they did a good job. And rode over here and then had this view of LA. It's a kind of a famous thing. I was a pull over here. But this area here is really cool. Get off the Angeles Crest and get into this area up here. There's also all this riding down in here. It's Glendora and all that. And I obviously didn't make it down there. But I did 2 different days riding this way down through here, and it was just great. Really enjoyed it. Oh, there's the Tayunga. There's the upper and the lower Tayunga Canyon roads, and those are little ones. You can't see those here, and those were just terrific as well. So at the top of the Angeles Crest Highway is Newcomb's Ranch, and again, this is another like Alice's Restaurant type of or rock store type of motorcycle hangout. And this has closed. There's nothing going on in there now, and it's for sale. But you can see the bikes still show up, and there were a lot of them here. One thing that's cool and really stroked my ego, I was walking around and one guy came up and says, "Hey, you're that guy that does those YouTube videos, right? Ken, isn't it?" I was like, "Yeah." Like, "Okay, that's cool." So that was good. And the guy wanted, photos. That's him. This was the guy that recognized me. This is all his brothers. Here's the thing though, one of these guys, I forget which one, crashed later that day and lost his thumb. So it's just the day I was riding here, I came across 3 incidents where riders were in the rocks, like in the cliffs, like they had run off the road and were like down. I'm not talking about, well, bummer, pick it up. No, they had like ambulances 3 different times on this road in one day. So the squid factor is like way beyond anything I'd ever seen before. It was just crazy. So this is that photo of, here's LA right back in there. You can see, I mean, it's crappy. Look at this, all the garbage and stuff. And there was actually something going on at the next rest area that I could see. And, cops were showing up. I think somebody had crashed there too. I think that was the 4th one, but that one was like nobody was hurt, but the cops showed up. And so anyhow, it was just insane, this California experience. This is my niece and her fiance now. And we rode. It was fun. It's a lot of fun for newer riders. They did a good job. Okay, so when we left California, I knew we were going to go, not left California, when we left LA, we were starting to head toward Death Valley. And I knew that Willow Springs Raceway was there. So, we practically drove right by it. So we actually went off, and Willow Springs, the raceway's back here. You can kind of start to see the track. And the Streets of Willow is the one that goes up the mountain. And while I was there, I saw that Keith Code Superbike, California Superbike School was in session. And so I acquainted with Keith and with Dylan. This is Dylan, his son. And so, kind of caught up a little bit. I'm not sure he actually remembers me because last time I saw him was in 2016. Keith and I have more history, but he wasn't there at the time. So now we're leaving California, going to Death Valley, and we went through Las Vegas, and we ended up having lunch here, stopped just in the camper, And turned out this was another big hangout. That's a famous motorcycle hangout that's west of Las Vegas. And I forget what it's called, but anyhow, it's something that somebody else might know. And now we're here at in Zion, and we ended up changing plans because we're going to go to Sequoia and Kings Canyon, but there was fires there. They actually, the parks weren't even open. So we decided, and with Las Vegas, we were thinking we would see, Hoover Dam and all that, but I'd been to Vegas a couple of times, and so we decided to change tack, and we ended up going up to Zion, which was the best decision ever. Because we've been to Zion once before, like a long time ago, and we just rode through it. So we really got to experience it here, and it was really great. And so one thing about the motorcycle at Zion is that if you ride, you can ride up through the tunnels, and you have to get into a shuttle to ride up the canyon. They don't let anything but the shuttle buses go up in there. They used to be a driver ride up there. But now taking the motorcycle, you can actually get in there really easy going. You can do it with a car too, but the scenery was just beautiful going through there. There's the one access road that goes through the tunnels. And the other thing about it is that parking at Zion is insane, like at the visitor center, sort of like at Glacier. But you can park motorcycles and in the oversized parking lot, and there's actually motorcycle spaces there. And so another reason to take the bike. There's Zion right here. Now here's the thing about Zion. Geez, this photo is not going to show very well. Yeah, okay. So we stayed down in here with the RV park, and Zion's over here. And so, you take the road and you go into Zion and you do that, blah, blah, blah. But over here, I discovered this road here. What was this one? The Kayob Canyon. Again, it's written down on that thing I showed you before. We'll revisit it later. And this, you can look almost down into Zion up here. It's just amazing. And the road was great. And the views were just spectacular. And I was there at, as the sun was setting, and just mind blowing. Again, these are the roads that you kind of want to find, are these little roads here. And it goes all the way out to a reservoir. And, all the way out there was quite a ride. But the real killer stuff was right along here. And you look over and you're looking right into Zion. It was just amazing. And that's the view from that road. Just awesome. And that's the same view. That's the same road looking back from where I came. And the road is just this, nice pavement, and it's kind of undulates and nice and curvy. What is this? Yeah, so this is also, this is also that same road. I loved it so much. You can see the vistas, just spectacular. So this was, again, at Zion. This is a ghost town that we stopped, and we just walked around. Nothing was open, COVID, but it was also late in the day. So that was, again, a dirt road. We kind of thought we were going to get a little lost, or maybe even in a bad situation, but it worked out just fine. Where are we now? Okay, now we're in Phoenix, and we're getting toward the end of our trip here. Carolyn has an aunt in Phoenix, and we stayed here before, and we rented a Harley once when we were here, just without a motorcycle. And what I did is Carolyn stayed with her aunt, and I took the bike, the MT, and I went out to Tortilla Flat. And I'd been out there before. When we had the Harley, we went out there. But this road here is really great. Again, it's really twisty and all that. And if you can get away from traffic, it's really great to pick up your pace through here, but don't count on it. Past Tortilla Flat, and I went up to about here and turned around. This is really cool, and nobody goes out. I mean, Tortilla Flat is sort of a touristy place if you've ever been there. It's got, a restaurant that looks like a saloon, and it's just a lot of, just very touristy. But I kept going, and I ended up going out and turning around, coming back. If you keep going, this turns into, I went all the way out till the pavement stops. And then it gets, if I had the Tiger, I would probably have gone all the way to Lake Roosevelt, and then maybe come back this way. But this was really cool through here. We did when we had the Harley at another time. That other time we did go out to Gold Canyon. This is really cool. It's top of the world. It was really nice. I really like this. We turned around and we actually went, didn't turn around. We took a left here and we went and we saw Lake Roosevelt from, because you're up high and you can look down on it. And that was pretty cool. I imagine this road would be fun. But I don't know about that. Anyhow, this is what I did here. And that's a photo from that tortilla flat ride. And on our way home, we were in the camper and we didn't get the bike off the back of the truck the rest of the way home, but we did go to Route 66. We ended up going to Tucumcari, which is bizarre because it's basically the Route 66, but like dinosaur bones, because all the neon signs and stuff are all there, but they're just dilapidated. I mean, they haven't done anything with it, and it's just bizarre. So, but there's the Route 66 museum that we stopped at, and that was pretty fun. You know, there's a lot of those types of things on Route 66. And I know that, you know, a lot of people are wanting to take, you know, the Route 66 trip as a destination. And so this was something that we ended up getting a taste of, including this, I forget the name of this town, but it had this old gas station, the Phillips 66 gas station. You'll see this kind of thing. This town was dead. I mean, there was just nothing here. Very depressed area. This is in Texas. And so this is this was actually in Paducah, Kentucky, where we stayed. And they had a sort of a commemorative wall that they had paintings of. And that's what this was. And on the way from Paducah and through Arkansas, there's this road, and then we're on Route 66 still. There's this museum that was right on Route 66 in an old gas station, auto repair station from that era. And it had a most amazing display, motorcycle museum. It was really quite good. So I think that's all I've got. So there's a lot. I just zipped through there really fast, but this is a little recap. So Black Hills. Oh, by the way, Custer State Park, let me tell you, is that you have to pay to get in there. One of the reasons we ended up riding so much in Black Hills was because you needed to pay per vehicle to get into the park. And we were on the bike when we first went there. And so, you know, it was significant enough payment that if we wanted to take the truck in, we'd have to pay again. So it ended up that we were on the bike and we got the pass for the bike. And so we just rode the bike the whole time we were there. So, but all this, the Needles Highway, and actually the Iron Mountain is not, I don't think, but Needles Highway and it's Lake Sylvan, beautiful area. It's all in Custer State Park, and you'll have to pay to get in there. And that's a state park. So we had the National Park Pass, which is just, we save so much money when you buy the National Park Pass and you're doing a trip like this. And the Beartooth Highway, and there's the route numbers, Chief Joseph. That's that road out of the Tetons to Du Bois, Route 26. There's Route 21 from Stanley to Lowman, Lolo Pass from Missoula, and the Glacier National Park, killer, love that. And here are the paths. This is the roads that we took, the two different ones, the Sherman Pass Byway and Route 21, which was the road coming back to Coulee Dam, and Crater, the Hoodoos, and then the perimeter. And that's all that I did in California, which was quite a lot, actually. This was the last, you know, month, actually 3 weeks of the trip. I did a lot of riding that last bit. This is that stage road. And there's, if you look that up on the map, you'll see from San Gregorio to Pescadero. And so it was just really cool. Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing, see if you have any questions and stuff. Any videos riding in Glacier? Yeah, I think I did. Let's see, Ken. I will tell you in 1 second. I'll show you actually. You know what, the Glacier, yeah, no, I don't think I did any video of Glacier, partly because the road was, I did do some, I remember, but the road was kind of, you know, it's not really exciting to watch as a video, so I don't think I did. But go to the YouTube channel because I've got like almost a lot of this I've got on video. But that I don't think I did. Let's see. Anybody else have any questions? So that was a real whip through. I mean, Craig, I know that you're wanting to do Route 66. I only did little bits of it, like I said, and it was in the truck. But you know, it's fun. Do you know, Craig? Do you know, is it keep your no, well, keep your daydream? Do you know those folks?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. So
They just did Route 66, which I thought was an interesting coincidence.
yeah,
But,
they did it pretty thoroughly too, and so that's a way to that's a resource for sure.
yeah, I enjoy their videos. I actually think that was probably my favorite series that they've done so far. I thought that was pretty fun.
That's great that you saw it then.
So, but yeah, we're doing that this year. And we're taking our time too. We're only doing a couple 100 miles a day and going to stop at all the interesting places. And then once we get out to Vegas, then we're going to do a loop through Utah and head back to Vegas and then continue on up through California, hit some of the places that you got to see.
Yeah.
And some other ones. I've wanted to go up to Lassen National Park for a while. I've never been there, so we're gonna hit that as well.
So that's really great. I've been there at another time, another trip. The fires stopped us from going there. That was also on our itinerary, and we had to change that.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just hoping the fires don't rise up again.
Yeah.
I hear they got a pretty good snowfall this year, so
they did.
Hopefully we won't run into that too badly. So
right. So what are we going to do in Utah?
We're hitting all the parks. We're hitting Bryce, Zion. I've been to Zion a few times. We're going to go back through again. Then we'll hit Bryce again, and then we'll make our way. Have you ever done 12 across Utah?
Oh, I think we did in 05. I think that was one we did in 05.
Yeah, that's an incredible road. So my wife's never seen that. And
so
a couple of the other people I'm going with.
Make sure that when you're in Zion to check out that Kyob. It's K-A-O-B. I didn't have it written down on my list.
Kolob, I think it is.
That's what it is. So find that Kolob Heights or something. I forget what it is, but
yeah, I was just looking at it as you were talking about it. I was looking at it on the map, so I'll have to definitely check that out.
I tell you, there's nobody up there. Like you'll be there up there alone, and it's just so beautiful. So and the road is great. I mean, it's just terrific. It's a hidden gem for sure.
Thanks. We'll definitely have to do that.
Good. Anybody else?
And it looks like there's some questions in the chat. As I said, I can't access the chat right now, so take a look if you would.
Okay, I got it here. What month were we in Yosemite? So we were in Yosemite. Actually, here's something about Yosemite, is that it was cold enough that we really weren't going to ride. I mean, it snowed on us when we were there. Let me answer your question though first. I got my calendar here. I keep forgetting when we were where. Yosemite, middle of October. So what I would love to have done is we took the road that goes out of Yosemite and goes to, can't think of the name of it now, heads east, and it goes up high above, north of Yosemite, and then comes back down. And I would love to have taken that on the bike, but it was like freezing in the truck, even though it was cold. So that I would definitely do if I was there. Route 1 California between San Luis Obispo and Monterey, is it open? So I don't know now because they had that big fire at the bridge, which we did visit when we were there with my friend who I visited in San Jose, and he took us up in his car. So that's a good question. I don't know. Now I'm talking about from San Jose down to Monterey. You're talking about a part that I don't know. So
yeah, it was closed for a year or so anyway because of landslides.
Yeah, I think they opened them, right?
Yeah, it opened up last year. I was there late last summer in August, and it was all back open. We drove from Monterey almost all the way down to San Luis Obispo. I was with both.
Right.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, Ken did a bunch of California. He can answer a lot of questions there. But yeah, that would be the other thing I would do is if you can do Route 1 all the way down, at least to Carmel and to Monterey and Carmel. That's really nice. I mean, the traffic, I got to tell you, from San Jose down to, I guess, Monterey is not good. I mean, it's a highway. But once you get past that, it gets really cool. It's the stuff you see, that really right along the coast, and that's really neat. there's a lot of off-road there, you know, Ken, that's one thing I learned. So we took his Subaru off-road and we went way down into a canyon, like, and it was like, wow, this would have been great on like the Tiger. So, or the Tenere. It's cool stuff. You know, when we're out here in the East, it's just, we just have no idea. If you've never done the West or in the Midwest, it's just such a different world. And if you can do it on a motorcycle, it, you know, if you can't, that's fine, because it's just being there is just terrific. But if you can get on a bike, and renting bikes is no big deal, right? I mean, Ken did it, and I've rented a Harley. It's no big deal. I mean, you know, it costs some money, but I know people that are shipping their bikes now, $500. They can get your bike out to California at some spot and just ride around. So let's see, what year is the MT? It's 2018. Miles traveled on the bike. I think we've got about 5,000 on it now. It's Carolyn's bike, but she hasn't really ridden it. She's not really riding much anymore. She's been a passenger more than anything. We're probably going to sell that bike. I actually am really kind of torn because I really love that bike. It's lightweight. The reason we took that bike, there would be a question somebody might have asked, and as opposed to the Tiger, is that it's so light and it's so easy to get in and out of the back of the truck. It was not intimidating at all. The Tiger's huge. I mean, it's another 60 pounds, 70 even. And so it just made more sense to bring the MT. A lot of people say, oh, that bike wouldn't have enough power for 2-up. Nah, it's fine. The thing was awesome. I mean, that thing is just such a great motor. Same motor that's in the Tenere. 12 is great. So Karen's done Route 12. Let's see. Okay. Any other questions? I don't think I see any more. Nothing more on the chat. So we have still 25 people here. Anybody have any questions about anything? I'll tell you what my experience. Another thing about, I will just say, if you're all going to hang out a little bit more, is that taking the truck and the bike in the back of the trailer of the truck makes total sense to me. Yes, there's something missing by not, you know, riding across the country and saying you've done it. But frankly, I don't need to do that. I actually, even if when I go down to like Teals Gap, I take the truck. I put the bike in the back of the truck. I don't need to just burn rubber on the, you know, on Route 95 going down there. So I'll truck down there, get down there, park myself at like Willville, which is a motorcycle camp in Virginia, right on the North Carolina border. And then I'll do my trip from there. And I can go off and camp, go down to Deals Gap area, and the truck is waiting for me up in Virginia. And then I just, you know, so I can really extend my riding that way. So that's how I've come to do things. I've certainly ridden all the way, not across the country, but I've ridden all the way down to, you know, Georgia and stuff. And it's fun. It was a good example of, you know, I'm glad I did it. But so anything else? I don't know. I'm not sure I've got anything else for y'all.
Anything that you didn't get to see that you wanted to?
You know, we did such a good job. Carolyn did such a good job. She should really hire herself out as a trip planner. So I can't really say there was much that we missed. We ended up, what I'd say the positive end of it is we allowed ourselves to stumble upon things. Now you can do that when you have 5 months. Can't do that. You have to plan. And I will say you have to plan. If you want to stay in a national park now, you have to get reservations. If you really, otherwise you better be resilient, because there were places that, you know, most times if you didn't have a reservation, you weren't staying, you know, in the park. And staying in the park, you don't have to. I mean, there's plenty of really great places to stay around, including boondocking. Here's another thing, Craig, I don't know where you're planning on staying in Zion, but we were at a camp, an RV park, but we were actually looking to boondock outside of like Vegas. But I couldn't find, we use All Stays, which is an app for, you know, finding camping areas and even like BLM land. And it just wasn't real clear of a spot right around Zion. Well, as we drove in, there was a beautiful spot right on the road. And if you want to know where that is, I can look it up for you. But it's just on the same road that goes into Zion, and the same road that Kayab or whatever road comes off of. And it's right along the river. So, I mean, you can camp there. People were just pulling in their vans and just staying there, boondocking, dry camping.
We fortunately, we have some friends live in St. George, so we're going to spend a couple of nights with them, and we'll head out through the park, and we'll end up out. What's the place? I can't remember the name of it right now, but little kind of a intersection with a campground and a hotel, a Jacob Lake, just outside of Grand Canyon, the north rim of the Grand Canyon. So
North Rim, right. So one thing that you didn't see a lot of the things, other places we went on this trip, because I wanted to keep it motorcycle related, but we did the Grand Canyon as well. We did the South Rim because we had done the North Rim before. What month are you going to be there?
we'll be there in June.
Yeah, all right, so you'll be fine. North Rim is definitely colder than the South Rim.
Yeah, well, I camped outside of the North Rim in, I guess it was late June, and it was 25 degrees at night.
So
You
we
gotta be
had,
prepared.
yeah, we had camped there with Janine when she was little. I guess she was 15. She was on the back of the VFR with me, and Carolyn was on her bike, whatever it was at the time. And we camped at the North Rim. And this was a 2-week trip that we did. We just did a blast. You know, we did like 400 miles a day, and we visited all the national parks right there from Denver and did a big loop. And the one when we stopped at Grand Canyon, we pulled in and there were clouds coming in that did not look good at all. So we hustled and we got the tent pitched and everything up. And it was a big tent we had. We definitely had all our stuff in there. We put it up, we threw all our stuff in there. We dove in as the rain just came down in buckets. And it was amazing how the weather can be out there. But the beautiful thing is in the morning, got up, it was beautiful. It was at night when it was dark when we pitched the tent. When we got up, we walked outside and the Grand Canyon was like right there. So we walked out and it was like, wait a second, just, you know, it was just an amazing experience. So, and Carolyn and Janine saw a condor, one of the few condors that are around there. They saw one, and she remembered the number because it was, you know, tagged on them. But so, and that was a great experience.
And the one thing that I really remember from being out there, other than the cold, was the sky at night. If it's clear, it's just absolutely amazing.
Yeah. No, I mean, the light there is just, it's shocking. Something that an East Coaster, if you've never been out there, will just blow your mind. You know, just Utah and the Grand Canyon area, and the light is just completely different. As an artist, I'm certainly appreciate that. I've loved just hanging out here before everybody disappears. Just wanted to point out that the parking lot course, if you're interested in doing that, that's the first one is sold out. The second one is almost sold out. And the third one is got about half full. So it's, again, like last year, things are filling up pretty quick. The street training has got more space. But it's also filling up. The track days, May is like totally booked. I really don't expect anybody really even on a waiting list. Maybe you can get in, we'll see. But August is about 2/3 full already. So that has gone gangbusters, really popular. It's taken us 5 years, but everybody seems to understand now the benefit of it. So we're thrilled. What else? Oh, and then I just want to point out again, beaches, to talk about travel, I'll be in Sardinia and Corsica with beaches in May. And that's an epic trip, I'm going to say. And 2 weeks of that. And that's another thing, if you've never ridden in Europe.
What dates?
It's May, middle of May. Middle to the end of May, I think it is. I have it up on the website and it's on Facebook. I've posted it a couple of times, but if you want, just contact me and I'll give you the information directly. But yeah, I've been really lucky to do that. If you've not ridden in Europe, that's another experience that's, you know, worth really sort of spending the money on and the investment of time.